Hello and welcome to AWN's live weekly coverage of the App State Football Press Conference. I'm Will Battershell.
And I'm Brandon Kaiser. Thank you so much for joining us today.
We are deeply saddened by the tragic news today. UCF reported this morning that former Mountaineer head coach Sean Clark passed away last night. He will be deeply missed by all of us here at App State.
Coach Clark led App State for 5 years from 2019 to 2024 before landing at the University of Central Florida to take over as the offensive line coach.
Sean Clark played a pivotal role in App State's history. His first career game as head coach gave the Mountaineers a bowl win in 2019. He led the Mountaineers to 3 bowl wins and 2 appearances in the Sun Belt Championship game. He also had multiple wins over ranked opponents during his time at helm of the Black and Gold. The biggest one being number 6 Texas A&M. That led to College Game Day coming to Boone for the first time ever. He also beat 2 nationally ranked Sun Belt opponents in Coastal Carolina and JMU. Clark also played for App State in 1994 to 1998 as an offensive lineman. Joining us today is AWN's sports reporter and analyst from the Appalachian, Trey Blake. Trey, it's a sad day for the Mountaineers. How do you remember Coach Clark?
Well, I remember Coach Clark as a leader and a family man. I mean, we saw some of those pictures and it's just heartbreaking. I mean, I was never lucky enough to meet the man face to face, but, being in some of those press conferences after football games or before the season started, I mean, you could just tell that, he lit up a room, just with a smile and just with a couple words. And again, it's just heartbreaking.
So, obviously, the biggest win against Texas A&M. Where were you, or how do you remember that event happening?
I was actually in Greensboro covering App State club hockey, so I wasn't lucky enough to be on King Street. But I mean, that was my freshman year. I was probably 2-3 weeks into school, and just seeing a university kind of rally around a team and a coach like that. It's just something I'll never forget.
We have the official statement from UCF. It says, Sean Clark was much more than a coach. He was a remarkable man, husband, and father who cared deeply about his players and staff. The reaction of our players and coaches to the news this morning is a testament to Sean's character and the impact he had on every life that he touched. He was loved. Our thoughts and prayers are with his wife, Janelle, and children Gina and Braxton. We are here to support them and will continue to keep them in our hearts and prayers. So, how do you react to that statement?
I mean, it's just like what I've been saying. I mean, Sean Clark is he's a God-fearing man. He's a man who loved his family. And, I'm going to remember Sean Clark with, all in my thoughts and prayers, and I'm going to remember him as, what I've been saying, as someone who I absolutely respect and absolutely love, as someone who was the head coach of my football team for 3 years. I mean, some of my greatest moments were standing in Kid Brewer Stadium, yelling for the Mountaineers, yelling for the Black and Gold. So I'm gonna love every memory I have of Sean Clark, and I'm gonna love every memory that I have of every single team that he was on. I mean, you think of all the great men that he led.
We have the press conference coming up shortly, but before that, we are going to toss it down to the press conference actually as Dow Loggins takes the stand.
Loss of Coach Sean Clark yesterday, as we found out, but we want to extend our deepest sympathies to Janelle and their family. Coach Clark was a former player here, a great teammate, and a couple days ago when we found out about everything, we had a team meeting because you want to control the narrative for these young guys, and he recruited so many of these guys, and so I want them to hear it from me so they don't see it on social media. So when we got wind of it, we had a team meeting, and we told the guys what was going on, and you can see it in their faces.
This program is about love.
What Coach meant to these guys. And I know from the community and his old teammates and the people that he's coached how much he meant to just the impact that he's made on people. And you get into coaching to impact young people. and Coach accomplished that mission, and he touched so many people. It actually become a good friend to me, and in a difficult situation, if I ever needed anything, he was great to me and the way he treated me. So it's a hard day for us, for the App State family, and we'll get through it together. And with that, I'll open up to questions.
David Ware, 24/7 Sports. Dow, you and I spoke last week, and the phrase you used was banged up. The team. Can you give us a health status report specifically as well as relates to quarterbacks?
I'll be able to give more tomorrow than I can today. We gave them Friday, Saturday off. We had a team dinner last night as everyone got back into town, and they needed that mental break as well, because you talk about 4 weeks of training camp and 3 hard games that we've played. I think that I don't want to say too early, but I think that the 3 of the 4 will for sure practice, maybe all 4. Today will be very light. Tomorrow we'll know a lot more as we take them through drills and some individual today.
Any other positions? I know offensive line was another group that's got a couple of guys out.
There's a couple of guys that are still that are going to be banged up, that are going to try to play through some stuff. We'll have a much better feel after today, after we get on the field and get those guys after not seeing. And a couple of guys stayed behind, like Jaden Ramsey, to do rehab and those things to try to get ready for this week.
As you guys go through the scouting process for Boise, I watched Saturday night's game, and Air Force is just a little bit of a unique offense, so maybe it's harder to tell there. How do you guys go about scouting them based on maybe some of the earlier games?
For us, the Air Force game doesn't help us as much formation just because it's such a unique offense. But you get to still evaluate their skill set. They obviously played in a bigger personnel grouping because Air Force is a flex bone, triple option type team, so they weren't in their nickel defense as much, or their 4-2-5, whatever you want to call it. But they have resume for a long time, so there's plenty of tape to watch and evaluate those guys. Really impressed with their program, have been for a long time, even in the NFL. When we're evaluating players, they've always done a really good job in the evaluation process, finding the 2 and 3 stars that turn out to be really good players for those guys. And they're well coached, and it'll be an awesome challenge to have to travel a long way to go play a really good opponent.
There's a lot of new blood on this team, coaching staff included, but I think everyone recognizes the magnitude of a Boise-App State matchup. How do you go about a normal week of prepping your guys and having their heads in the right place, also recognizing it's hard to avoid the storylines that accompany this game?
Yeah, well, I think it's the business has to be conducted, and it's the next opponent, the next game, and I hope that we treat every game, whether it be last week, is a championship game. And so for us, the most important one's always the one you're currently getting ready for, and it's a big one. But so the last 3, for us, the emotion of getting to play a Boise State or getting to go play on the blue turf and all those things, you better worry about you better worry about correcting the things that we need to get corrected, red zone on both sides of the ball, turnovers, penalties, making sure that we're fixing those things and not who you're playing, where you're playing them.
Jacob Pearsall, Appalachian Weekly News. A lot of the players on this team had very strong ties to Coach Clark.
Yeah.
How are they holding up today, and how would you say they've been over the weekend?
Yeah, well, today was obviously more difficult. Everyone knew, like I said, we had the team meeting, and we talked about it. We informed them. We prayed for Coach, and just got to kind of reflect on the type person he was, what he brought to this place, how he treated the kids. And that's what these kids know. They know that they had an unbelievable coach and an unbelievable man who treated them very, very well. And you can see when you look and talk to their eyes, and there were 3 or 4 of them that came in today, and he recruited a lot of them and sat in their living rooms and spent 2 to 3 years recruiting these kids and developing great relationships. And it's powerful to be a coach. And you understand the responsibility of it. No one did it better than Coach Clark with his relationships with these young guys. And they care about him deeply because they knew what this place meant to him, and they knew how he treated them. And so the next couple of days will be hard. And the wound sometimes that you carry your scars for your life, and your scars in this journey of life create who you are. So he positively impacted everyone in this program, and there's some guys like Coach Spear and Nolan Jones that are really good friends with him and really close with him. And Joey worked with a guy for 8 to 10 years. Like it's from Doug. I mean, it's all of us. Like I didn't have the experience that some of these other guys did, but from a player, a coworker, like it's a challenge just to get ready for a game, and just for these kids, it's hard for a young person. That's their coach. That's our coach, and that's powerful.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Trey, what are your initial thoughts from that press conference?
I mean, it starts with what Logan said about Coach Clark. I mean, he's completely right. I mean, he never got the chance to meet him, but just perfect encapsulation of who Coach Clark was. We got some guys on the staff that know him, and some players on the staff that know him. But past Coach Clark, I think that Loggins is completely right about looking past the blue turf at Boise. If we're just looking at Saturday, it's not about where you're playing, and it matters who you play, right? It matters who's in front of you, and not the magnitude of the game. It matters when you go line up 11 on 11. That's when it matters.
Do you think this will be inspirational to the team and help them going towards Boise?
I do. I mean, Coach Clark doesn't just bleed black and gold. He bleeds Boone. I think this is going to inspire an entire region that needs this inspiration, that needs a figurehead to keep pushing people forward. And I do. I'm going to expect a really fiery team on Saturday, and you're going to see a lot of SCs on the jersey, maybe a tag on the helmet, and a lot of black and gold in Boise as well.
Going off of that, Loggins discussed on how Coach Sean Clark recruited a lot of the current players that are playing right now. And speaking of Will's question, just inspiration towards those main players, do you think they'll step up a little bit more to lead this team to a defeat or a loss or a win against Boise State this week?
I mean, you hope so. I mean, you want to win no matter what. But you look at those guys: Thomas Davis, Kevin Verwain Abrams. On the offense, Dalton Stroman. I mean, Kanye Roberts isn't on the field, but he's on the sidelines. He's in the locker room. These guys are there. I think they, like what I said, they know what they have to do this Saturday. This is for Coach. This is for Coach Clark. This is for the entire Clark family, and I think they're gonna be prepared on Saturday.
For more reaction, let's go live now to Jacob Pearsall.
Today, the High Country mourns together after the loss of Coach Clark. He was very well respected and known as a phenomenal coach, yes, but an excellent person. And people, players, students, staff all recognized that. And he was a Mountaineer through and through. Went to school here, coached here, and made his impact known. He wanted to retire a Mountaineer as well, and it's awful to see that that's not going to be a possibility. Personally, I've been here for 4 years on my 5th, and Sean Clark was coach for pretty much my whole tenure, and it was excellent seeing what he did for this program, not only as a coach, but also as a person and a leader for the team, but also the students in the High Country as a whole. Whether it was the Coastal game-winning field goal where we rushed the field, or the miracle on the mountain at Troy, there was so much that he did for this program and Boone as a whole, and it really impacted the players, the staff, the students, the faculty. Everyone in Boone here really recognizes what he's done for the High Country and appreciates him for everything that he's been able to do. App State would not be the same without Coach Clark, and that's for certain. And there's so many people that truly appreciate what he's been able to do. Coach Clark may not be here now, but he will live forever in the hearts and thoughts of everyone in the High Country. Everyone will be sending their thoughts to Coach Clark and his family. This is Jacob Pearsall with AWN.
Thank you, Jacob. And I think Jacob said it the best. I mean, we all will remember him for all the great stuff he did for us, and how we look at him he basically shaped how App State is going to be moving forward with his bowl wins and success. Trey, what was the biggest moment that you enjoyed when he was here?
Oh, that's a great question, Will. I would say JMU last year. JMU that wasn't just on the field. That was just a crowd experience in itself. I mean, snow game was awesome. Jason Kelsey here. That was. It's hard to put it into words. It's hard to talk about the way that App State football makes you feel. It's hard to put into words how people like Sean Clark make you feel. And just thinking that we'll never be able to watch Coach walk up on that podium again. It's hard. It's really hard. And but yeah, back to your question. I think JMU was easily my favorite moment of my Jacob said 4 years, my last 3 years here.
You mentioned JMU, and he got one of his biggest ranked wins against JMU a couple years ago. And as you can see, look at how the locker room is just igniting when he walks in. Everybody just surrounds this dude and loves Sean Clark, and he was great for the culture here at App State.
Yeah, I mean he's a light bulb. I mean when he walks in, the whole room lights up. I mean it was like that in press conferences, and as we saw in the video over there, it was like that in the locker room. It's unbelievable the kind of man he is, or the man he was. It's just hard to think about. I'm sorry, Will, I'm not formulating my words really well right now, but these memories of Coach Clark are just they're never going to go. They're going to be here forever. Coach Clark will be immortal in App State history, as he should be. Two-time All-American. And to your point, the culture that we have now isn't here without Sean Clark. We don't see the success of college game day coming without Sean Clark. We don't see 10-win seasons. We don't see conference championships without 61 at the helm. And it's unbelievable the kind of man he was, and moving forward.
And going to our win against Texas A&M, he had such a big impact on that. And then game day had such a huge impact for App State, and not just bringing recruits, but as a school in a whole.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen the numbers. Admissions just absolutely skyrocketed after that. I mean, recruits popped up, but we keep talking about this one guy. We can talk about college game day, we can talk about Texas A&M, but this is about Sean Clark. This man was not App State. This man was Boone. This man had raised his kids here. This man went to school here. This man, lived his life here, and he is the epitome of what I think we all want to grow up and be. A leader, someone who young men and women can look to and believe in. And yeah, it's just, again, having trouble figuring out the right words, the words that he deserves to be remembered by. But yeah, he will always be in my heart, and I know y'all feel the same.
Yeah, and Sean Clark always had the mentality of looking forward, and so that's kind of what this team has to do now with this week. Yeah, this news is passed, and it's going to help motivate them as they head towards Boise State.
Yeah, we spoke about that before. I think it will. There's players on this team that were recruited. I mean, Coach Logan said it. Sean Clark has sat in there, hugged their parents, sat in their living rooms, broke bread with them, eat meals with them. They're going to remember Sean Clark, and they're going to go out there for 61. They're going to go to Boise, and I think they're going to get it done.
App State football has tweeted a little bit ago that we are profoundly saddened by the passing of App State alum, football All-American, and former head coach Sean Clark. We extend our deepest sympathy to Sean's family and everybody who knew and loved him. So even App State, they said it great too, that just everybody in Boone loved Sean Clark. Mm-hmm. And he was a key piece to Boone. He loved Boone. He wanted to stay in Boone. So his family was super, super important to him. He was a giant family guy.
He was. I mean, we keep seeing these pictures of him with his family, and I'm pretty sure his daughter went to Watauga High School. They're here. I mean, I can't imagine what his family's going through, and I send my thoughts and prayers to them. Every day from now on till the end of time. And yeah, it's just still so hard to think about and so hard to put into words.
So now, looking with that Sean Clark mentality of looking ahead, this team has an uphill battle when it comes to Boise State. So what are they looking at in Boise State that they're going to have to face?
Well, they're going to have to face a really strong rushing attack. I mean, it's kind of strength versus strength. You know, App State's been really good in rushing defense this year, but I mean, Dylan Riley. I mean, we saw against Air Force. I mean, you see it right here. He was a beast. I mean, he kind of looks like Ashton Genty, you know, breaking off these tackles and running over guys right here. It's really going to be strength versus strength, but, you know, they got two guys behind them. You know, they got rotating backs. It's kind of the opposite of what we got. Dubinion's kind of been the bell cow. Dubinion's kind of been, you know, the guy, and, you know, coach has been saying that he wants that to not be the case anymore, but I don't know if that's going to be the case this game. I think Dubinion has to be the guy, and I really think that it's going to come down to who has the better rushing game. Because, you know, Boise's not that good on the rush defense. They're sitting around 100th in the country on rush defense. So I think Dubinion's going to have a huge game. And, you know, if A.J. Swan's able to go, if he's ready, I think we're going to have to see a little from him too. But, you know, mainly it's going to have to come from Dubinion.
Speaking on A.J. Swan and how he's got no injury designation out right now, who would we be relying on for QB coming up this weekend?
I mean, if Swan's ready to go, it's A.J. Swan. I know he had a little trouble against Southern Miss, and, you know, the red zone stuff isn't good. I mean, it's not good. It's something you got to clean up, just point blank, period. But it's got to be A.J. Swan. In my opinion, A.J. Swan is QB1. He looked great against Charlotte. A little bit of a slip up. Maybe that was not all on him. Maybe it was receivers and other stuff going on, but it's A.J. Swan. And if he's not healthy, you know, from what we saw from Noah Gillen and Billy Wiles, I liked what I saw from Billy Wiles. You know, this is a guy who's been in the program. This is a guy who's been here before. But, you know, if A.J. Swan's not ready to go, I think we should see a little bit of J.J. Cole.
So let's take a look now at how these teams stack up against each other with stat-wise, because both teams have had an interesting start of the season. And what are you looking for when you look at these stats?
Well, you know, we got defensive stats up, but Boise State has averaged 50 points a game since that USF loss. And, you know, this is a team that just gave up 38 to Southern Miss in App State. I'm really looking on how that defense is going to step up. And, you know, we were not good in that short to medium pass range against Southern Miss. I think Southern Miss was 17-19 on the short and medium pass. We gotta cut that. And then to look at the offensive stats, I mean, we're so good on offense until we hit that red zone. I mean, the red zone offense it's got to come. And you know, I think it's going to come at some point. And I remember a couple weeks ago when we had this press conference. I mean, this show and the coach's corner. I said that Oregon State was going to be the biggest game of our year. I think that Boise State has got to be the biggest game of our year, because if we go to that blue turf and we continue to see these red zone problems, then does Oregon State even matter?
The big thing that sticks out to me, and you can kind of dive deeper into it, is the rushing numbers. Boise, almost 100 more rushing yards so far this season.
Yeah, but to what I mentioned, they're rotating three backs. You know, you got Dylan Riley, who's a beast, and then, you know, the two guys behind him. We've only got Rashad Dubinion, who I'm sure makes up 95% of that 162. But, you know, these Boise State backs, they're, you know, the past like 3 or 4 Boise State running backs past Ashton Genty have been really good. This is a really good rushing program, and I'm excited to see what the App State defense can do, because I could see Thomas Davis and Kevin Abrams-Verwain, you know, rise to the occasion. You know, can Colton Ferris rise to the occasion? You know, this is a guy who was playing safety last year. Now he's moved in that linebacker position, and he's had a great start into the year. And, you know, if Dylan Riley hits that second level, can a guy like Colton Ferris stop him? Can a guy like Elijah McCantos in the secondary stop him? And I think they can. You know, we keep talking about they're going to be more inspired. We keep talking about they're going to be more hyped up. And I'm really excited what I'm going to see on Saturday's game.
We have a statement from UCF's Scott Frost that just got released recently. It says, this is the statement that we read earlier. And Trey, how does this affect UCF's team?
Ooh, that's a question, Will. You know, this team would just, you know, slaughtered UNC on Saturday. I think, if we're talking about this is going to, prop up App State, this is going to prop up UCF, a lot more. I think UCF is a really good football team, and this is just only going to make them better.
Yeah, and UCF coming off a huge win against North Carolina just this week. So now they got even an extra boost almost looking into the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that win was great. I mean, growing up an NC State fan, when you see UNC lose, it's always awesome. And I'm sure y'all feel the same as App State fans. But that game was great. I mean, I didn't really watch it. I kind of box score watched it. Can't lie. But 34-9, I'm pretty sure the final score was. I mean, that's only just going to keep them pushing further and further.
So we've been talking about Boise State's running game a whole lot. Now let's look on the App State side and what Dubinion has been doing so far for App State.
I mean, Dubinion's a beast. I mean, we see 71 rushes for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. Those fumbles are kind of questionable, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Almost 6 yards a carry from him. I would like to see more running backs come into this room, though. I would like to see Jakari Lewis. I would like to see Kamani Alexander. But I think in a game like this, I think Dubinion has to be the bell cow. I think Dubinion has proved that he's this good, and I think he's going to continue to prove that he's this good. And on the national stage, I mean, we're on Fox Sports 1 this week. This is the time to show what we've got, show who we are. And I think that starts at Rashad Dubinion. I think that starts at this offensive line. And the offensive line's kind of banged up too, but I think Rashad Dubinion is going to have a huge game. I think we're going to see what we saw in Lindenwood. I think we're going to see what we saw against Charlotte. And he was really good against Southern Miss too, but that Lindenwood game, he was unstoppable. What
do you think Boise can do to try to limit Dubinion?
I mean, you got to start on the front three. Just what we were talking about, Colton Ferris stepping up on our side, their linebackers got to step up. When Dubinion hits that, we were talking about Dylan Riley, when he hits that second level, that's when he can really explode. It's when Dubinion first hits that hole. When Dubinion first gets through that offensive line, I mean, he's basically gone. I mean, he's brushing off tackles like it's nothing. So I think it's got to start, like what I was talking about for us, it's got to start at their linebackers, and it's got to start at their secondary.
We're going to go back to the App State statement that they released about Coach Clark just a little bit ago, saying that we are profoundly saddened by the passing of App State alum, football All-American, and former head coach John Clark. We extend our deepest sympathy to Clark's family and everybody that knew and loved him. So what are some more of your favorite memories of Sean Clark?
Obviously, JMU, I was talking about. The ECU game a couple years ago, when we played them here, that game was great. I was they had opened up the asphalt right in front where the track used to be, and I was smack dab in front. And I just remember it's always the atmosphere here. The atmosphere always carries the game, and I feel like that was the first thing Coach Clark said coming into the press conferences. Thank you, Mountaineer Nation. Thank you to our students. Thank you to everything. And that's what makes these atmospheres. So I would say definitely JMU. ECU, UNC, my freshman year, 63-61, that game was, just insane. We got, facing off against, future NFL guys we see right now. That game was just wild. Shout out Chase Price.
Going off of that insane game that he had against JMU and the amount of impact and just pressure that he'd put onto other teams with his almost aura, to be honest. And like how he'd walk into a locker room and just light the place up. You were speaking on how he was a light bulb, but I see him more as like a fire to an oven, just lighting up that team to make them fight for each other, not just against each other, And I think that's what he did really well as a coach is he made the team a family and not just strangers playing together. He was almost like a father figure to him.
You're 100% right, Brandon. I mean, we were never in the locker rooms. We were never in those team meetings where he was really lighting those fire under those guys. But you could tell in the post-game press conferences. You could tell when we talked to athletes. They spoke so highly of this guy. This guy was a father figure to them. This guy was just as close as their family and everyone.
Yeah, and it's just been a really sad news, but also just remembering him and all the great things that he did for the Mountaineers. So, thank you for joining this week's coverage of the App State press conference. I'm Will Battershow.
I'm Brandon Kaiser. Have a good week.